In question 29, we have 5,413 times 86. So we can do this both ways, the traditional column multiplication and the grid method. So let me write that out again here. Now my first step is to multiply the 6 by every digit at the top. Then my second step would be to multiply the 8 by every digit at the top. So let's start with this. 6 times 3, 6, 12, 18. So I can't put 18 like this in one column, that would be wrong. So what I need to do is carry this one over into the next column. Now I do 6 times 1. 6 times 1 is 6, plus the one I've carried over is 7. So we put the 7 down. Now I do 6 times 4. And 6 times 4 is 24. So I put the 4 down and I carry the 2 over to the next column. And then I do 6 times 5. And I know 6 times 5 is 30. Plus the 2 I've carried over is 32. So I put the 2 down and I carry the 3 over and I can write it straight down in the next column because I've finished. Now I'm moving on to the next digit, the 8, which is in the tens column. And to help me, I'm going to put a helper 0 or a placeholder. Now let me rub all this out to make it easier. So it's 8 times 3. And I know 8 times 3 is 24. So I put the 4 down here and carry the 2 over to the next column. Now it's 8 times 1, which is 8, plus this 2 that I've carried over makes it 10. So I put a 0 and I carry the 1 over to the next column. There. Now it's 8 times 4. And I know 8 times 4 is 32. Plus the 1 I've carried over is 33. So I put the 3 here. And I carry the 3 over to the next column. 8 times 5 is my next one. And 8 times 5 is 40. Plus the 3 I've carried over makes it 43. So I put the 3 down. And I can write the 4 down in the next column because I've finished. There's nothing to carry over. 8 add 0 is 8. 7 add 4 is 11. We put the 1 down and we carry the 1 over. 4 add 0 add 1 that we've carried over is 5. 2 add 3 is 5. 3 add 3 is 6. Nothing add 4 is 4. So now we have this number here. So let me write this up here. So the first column is the ones or the units column. Then it's the tens column. And then it's the hundreds column. Then you have the thousands column. And the tens of thousands column. Then we have the hundreds of thousands column. As before, we have 1, 2, 3, comma. And that is your thousands. So it's 465,518. Now I'm going to rub this out and use the grid method. So let me draw the grid. So we have 5 in the thousands column, so I put 5,000 here. Then I have 4 in the hundreds column. And then I have 1 in the tens column. Then I have 3 in the ones column. Now 86 I'm going to partition or split up and write it down here. So I have 8 in the tens column, which is 80. And I have 6 in the ones or the units column, so I put 6 here. Now my first calculation is 80 times 5,000. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to hide this 0 and these 3 zeros. So my calculation is 8 times 5. And 8 times 5 is 40. So I write down 40. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. I'm going to bring those back. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 80 times 5,000 is 400,000. Now my calculation is 80 times 400. Now my calculation is 80 times 400. And as before, I'm going to hide 1, 2, 3 zeros. So 8 times 4 is 32. So I'll write 32 here carefully. And I will bring back 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3 zeros. Now I have 80 times 10, which is 800. And finally, I have 80 times 3. As before, I'm going to hide this 0. 8 times 3 is 24. And I simply bring this 0 back. So 80 times 3 is 240. Now I'm going to do 6 times 5,000. As before, hide these. 1, 2, 3. So 6 times 5 is 30. And I add 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3 zeros. Now moving on. 6 times 400. So what do? Hide these 2 zeros. So I do 6 times 4, which I know is 24. And then I bring back 1, 2 zeros. 1, 2 zeros. And then it's 6 times 10, which is 60. And finally 6 times 3, which is 18. Now I simply add these using column addition. So I'm going to write those there very carefully. I've written that number down. Now I have to write this very carefully. I have to make sure everything is in the right column. So this is 32,000. So I have to write the 3 in this column, followed by 2, and then 3 zeros. Then I have 800 and 240. Now I continue on and do the same with these. And once I've lined all these up, I simply add them. As before, we start on the right in the ones or the units column. And we only have 8 there, so we write down 8 here. That's 0. 4, add 6 is 10. Add the 1 is 11. Put the 1 down and carry the 1 over to the next column. 8, add 2 is 10. Add 4 is 14. Plus the 1 we've carried over is 15. So we write the 5 here and carry the 1 over to the next column. 2 add 2 is 4, plus the 1 is 5. 3 add 3 is 6. And you have 4. As before, 1, 2, 3, comma. So this is your thousands. So it's 465,518. It's exactly the same as that. So whichever method you want to use, whether it's the traditional column multiplication or the grid method, you decide, but make sure you show your solution.